Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Knox Makers. It's Tuesday night, and that means it's time for Show and Share. This is the evening where we invite community members to bring in projects that they've been working on, successful or unsuccessful, to share with the group. We've got a couple of folks signed up to do so tonight. We're going to start off with Toby, who's brought in his bar tap, which is finally complete.
So this pretty much well looks exactly as the one that it did at the Maker Faire and under the camera. I mean, there is still quite a bit of detail on there, even though you can't see it. But at the Maker Faire, since it did light up and everything and does have lights in it, I was told it'd be cool if it had a tilt sensor built into it. So I actually did add a tilt sensor to it, so it lights up now. And then when you tilt it back, it turns off, which also saves a lot of battery. So basically, that was mentioned to me at the Maker Faire, and I was like, okay, as Isaac uses the word feature creep a lot, I was like, okay, we'll add the feature creep after the Maker Faire, and then I actually did that all Saturday. New model, rewired it and everything. I still got the little small plug hole in the back for all the wiring and everything, and it uses a 15-degree mercury tilt sensor, which sloshes a little bit, but yet it kind of flickers and turns on, so it kind of does a cool effect. So anyway, that's pretty much the last feature that I've added to it, unless somebody else throws something else out, and I don't think I can find any other thing to add to it. But
where did you mount the switch?
that is actually inside the little bay that I wired everything into. So I actually, in a sense, drilled a little small hole to put the mercury switch into it. And then I realized when I bought the 3mm mercury switch that the wires had to come back out this way. So I had to mount it backwards in order for the tilt to make the connection. So when it tilts forward, it makes the connection. But the wires also come out that side, so I had to bend them back and then connect it to the positive on both sides. Otherwise, it would have turned on, it would have turned on when I tilted it back, which is the opposite direction. So, yes. I do not. No. This actually was a friend of mine. She was a bartender, so I was like, okay, it'd be kind of cool if it lit up. So that's where that stemmed from. I was like, okay, I've got just a person made it into a tap handle, and then later I was like, okay, it'd be kind of cool if it lit up. It'd be even cooler if it run off of a little coin battery to not have to wire to a wall wart. And then I was like, and then the tilt sensor. So, yes, sir.
Will we one day be seeing a light up your elephant via tap?
That is, since the base is actually done, that is a very good possibility. So that might happen, but it might not be a bear tap handle. It may be something else. Yes.
Have you shown the model the part yet?
She's living she moved back to Georgia, okay, but I am going to ship it to her, so she'll actually have it. The main reason why she wanted the first one done is, since she was a bartender, she's like, hey, I'd like to build a kegerator and have myself as the bar tap handle. So I was like, okay, we'll scan you and we'll make you into a tap handle. And then, of course, that was kind of another story altogether, because we surprised her and didn't even tell her that she was going to be a beer tap handle until she actually walked in one day at work and saw it on the taps. So, any other? Then I'm done.
Nicely done, sir. Have you considered adding a voice recorder to it? Next up, we've got Thea, who's going to show us a tool to help move her tools.
Well, the weathermen keep saying that winter's coming, even though the weather is not cooperating, so I'm actually knitting myself a pair of mittens. But it's a very small thread and it takes forever. So you're constantly toting this around And in order to knit in a circle, you use these double pointed needles, and you can see you just keep knitting around in a circle. But then you've got the 3 needles, and then every time you stop, you've got an extra needle. And some people stick them right into the skein of the yarn, and then you end up with tangles. So there's this neat thing that I saw on Etsy where you simply take all your toys, you shove them inside, and you hit the snaps. And then nothing comes untangled. You don't worry about your stitches sliding off because you hit the snaps. So I actually made these out of scraps, and I think I would make it just a touch longer the next time because it can be a little tricky to get them in. That's all you need are the 2 snaps at the end because they fill up the entire pocket. So by the time you snap it, there's not enough movement for them to pull back out. That would be a concern, yeah. So they're actually very easy to make. You just sew the perimeter, and I left one end open for turning it. When you turn it, mark for your snaps because that's much easier while they're flat. Then you just fold it and sew the ends and then insert the snaps, and the entire thing took me an hour and a half to get to this point with all 4 of them. So very nice to have if you're a knitter or if you have a knitter in the family. Not hard to make at all. Any questions? All right.
That's really neat, and that's an ongoing theme. Thea has shown us a number of tools that she's made for herself. That's one of my favorite things about being here is seeing how y'all work. You should all bring in your tools and show them to me. I want to know how you do these things. This has now exhausted my sign-up list. Has anybody else brought a share for us tonight? Yes, sir. What you got?
Let's have we're considering sharing, not sharing. Oh, let's share. Do it. So I don't have much to update you on. You have like a little wood thing. I need like a platform. Yeah. I don't have much to really update you guys on Nakatomi Plaza. I did upgrade the CPU board, so now it has wireless capabilities, so it can wirelessly communicate to a CPU that can send API calls to the boards, and so what that means is that I can just make a single flashbang go off, and that will be that. Right now, they all just kind of loop together. They all kind of loop over and over again, and so. Okay, so let's see here. I do have a web page. Let's see here. Here we go. Well, let's see here. Let's see if I can make this. There we go. So now this board's pretty legit. As you can see, you can do pre-programmed patterns, everything else like that. And let's see here. Now, what I will show you is the first kill in Die Hard. This is the first kill. This is first blood. I call it first blood at the front door. And it's when they're taking out the security guard with the silenced weapon and they're jumping over the desk. And this is the first This is the first kill. Unfortunately, like I said, it keeps looping over and over and over again, so he keeps dying over and over again at this time. But that's going to be changing rather here in a couple days, as soon as I figure out how to do the APIs. Now, Isaac did ask last time how I was going to do the coordinate system of each individual section. Well, what I do is I created what's called an array of numbers. It's just the coordinates of so 0 to 4 is the front door, 5 to 9 is the back door, and the remaining LEDs, the remaining numbers are the upper layer here. And so yeah, that's Nakatomi Plaza and the first kill so far. So yeah, thanks. Question?
I asked this partially, I think, on Isaac's behalf, unbeknownst to him. Would you consider adding like blood spatter and substitute? You said is that a fair question?
Well, I don't know if I'd do that. I actually kind of considered color coding the bad guys, truth be told, and having all their positions in the building during the time frame of the movie. And you actually have you get to see the lights go out one by one as John McClane kills them. So that's about as close as I can get to it. So yeah.
Wasn't the plaza a little taller than that? How did that scale, though? Was it like a 10 or 15 story?
Yeah, a little bit. This is a plaza for ants. This is a plaza for ants.
Are you actually going to set it up so it's time for the movie, so you can sit there and plug it in, watch the movie, and watch your little model go off?
Well, in theory, what I want to try and do, I'm not going to try and time it. I'm going to try and make it watch the movie, and it'll actually interactively, dynamically do the effects. That's the ultimate dream. But right now, I'm trying to get all of the gunfire, all the flashbangs, everything else like that, at least programmed into it. And then what I figure is that I can probably train an AI model, and I've got the NPU at home, and I can probably make it watch Die Hard and make it go off with Die Hard.
How many times do you estimate you'll watch Die Hard by the end of the night? And will you want to watch it?
I've watched that poor desk guard die so many times. I've heard him die so many times. My God, the whole effect is about a whole second. That first kill is 1 second of that one first shot. So yeah. Yeah, so anybody else? Great, thanks.
You know, I feel like with your looping first kill, you've actually got kind of a Die Hard Groundhog Day crossover thing going. It's a completed project. Anybody else got anything they want to share with us this evening before we move along? Yes, sir. What have you got?
Just a quick announcement. Tomorrow night is the first bandsaw authorization class, and I know a lot of you use the bandsaws and want to keep using them. So I am going to try and offer these classes on a fairly rapid sequence over the next month and a half to try and catch up on everybody who wants to use the bandsaws. I appreciate your patience and everything. We're doing this. It was not an easy decision to make, but we realized we had to make it. So authorization classes, watch the calendars. They'll be coming up.
All right. Last call for shares. If anybody else has anything. Yes, please.
Hi. I literally joined last week, so I have no idea how this works. We're going to just make it work. So I brought a kind of in progress thing and a definitely in progress thing, because again, I didn't know how this thing worked. First of all, my name is Devin. Nice to meet y'all. This is Crafters Anonymous. Welcome. So I am an ultra nerd when it comes to painting and like painting materials through time. So I try to do things as they would have done in the past. So usually I focus on like 15th, 16th century like Bavaria. So this is kind of one of my projects where I took the jewel book of Duchess Anna of Bavaria, and I'm completely redoing it with all of the correct paint you would do it and the pigments you would do it with. It's a lot of time. I kind of stopped doing it when I realized it's a lot of time. But like what's interesting about, is it better this way? Yes, it's better this way. What's interesting about this is that you can see like the influence of other things happening at the time. So like strap work, which is a common like way of framing things at the time, happens like right here. And you have these grotesques happening. And if you are someone who does a lot of jewelry, this was based off of the jewel collection that Anna of Bavaria had. And none of these jewels actually still exist to this day. They were lost. But you can, if you wanted to, like recreate that, you could do that. So that's the one thing that I kind of put down for a little bit. The second thing is I'm learning how to make painting canvases like they would in like the 16th century, and I can't open this anymore. I need a big, strong man to do this morning. Can you open this? Yeah. No pressure.
You loosen it up for him.
So, believe it or not, this is not onion powder. This is actually parchment glue. And it's made by boiling parchment for hours and forgetting about it. It took a long time. And this is what's going to end up being called gesso soutile. So you make regular gesso, which is like half glue and half plaster of Paris, and it's basically fermenting for a month, and I stir it every day. And I have to remind people that it's not yeast, so please don't eat it. And this baby, which is not very nice looking now, is the first step of a canvas. So you take wood on a canvas, basically glue it down with parchment glue. And theoretically, if you do this right and do all the layers of gesso and gesso soutile and everything, you can take the wood off the back and replace it and keep this intact. So when you see paintings in like museums and stuff, especially if they're like pre-1600s, the wood that it's on is not the original wood. It's probably been replaced at some point. So that's me. Hi.
I love the painting nerd description. Awesome.
Yeah.
Where do you learn about this techniques and the colors and all of that?
So I do a lot of my own research, but I also like joined a lot of groups on Facebook. But a lot of like this stuff is from like directly from historical artist manuals. So like Chenini is the one that everyone thinks about when you think like manuals made way back when, but there's all other ones like a Libro. No, that's Chenini. There's a lot of them. But if you're interested in it, I have a whole amount of bookshelves that I could just bring one day and go like, you can read this if you want. Yes?
I think you said you make your own pigments?
Well, I make my own paints.
Okay.
I've had, sorry?
Are you using egg yolk and that sort of thing?
So I don't use egg yolk. That is one of my next projects is to use egg yolk. I first have to find live chickens and, raw. So if someone has chickens here, I will take your eggs, actually. But so that's one type of paint. I make gouache, which uses gum arabic or any other water-soluble binder. The only pigments I've made myself are the pigments that I cannot find online. So like fluorite is a pigment that technically the fluorite you would have used in like 1600s, 1500s is illegal now. So I have to use regular non-illegal fluorite, so it doesn't work as well. but you have to make that yourself. You have to go find fluorite and bash it up with a hammer and pray, essentially.
Why would it be illegal? Is it toxic?
Yes, so this type of fluorite is done in a mining process. You get it through a mining process, and it's highly dangerous and toxic and illegal. And so the mining process itself is illegal now. So to get that type of fluorite, you would be illegally mining things. So it's not like other toxic things where it's like, it's not too dangerous if you take the right steps and SOPs and wear the right stuff. But with this mining process, it's super dangerous, and they're just like, we don't want people to mine this anymore, so it's illegal now. You can't get it anywhere. Yes.
This is really personal, but how did you get into this?
I've always liked painting, and I've always liked to be super accurate. So I'm a scientist by day and an artist by night, is like what I try to say. So I try to bring the science into art, and that's kind of what I do, is go like, let's try to make gesso 4 different ways and see which one is the best way. But it kind of gives you a new appreciation of like how easy it is to get like paint nowadays. You know, I can just go to the store and get paint. But if I would have done it back in the day, I would have had to like make time, or I'd have to get an apprentice and make my apprentice do it. That's probably what I would prefer to do, is make my apprentice do it. But
Never too late.
it's never too late. So if you want to be my apprentice, I will make all the pigment you want and paint. But that's me. Thanks.
Doesn't know how show and share works. How great was that? Also, can we take a moment to appreciate the magnificent hue of her hair? Super last actually call for shares. Anybody else? No? Okay. A couple of announcements to share with you before we conclude. We've already heard about the bandsaw story, so we'll move on to the fact that Thursday, November the 7th at 6:30 p.m., we're doing a blacksmithing auth class. This is the introduction to forging. So you will learn about forge operation, zone safety, and get a key to the blacksmithing building. When I looked this afternoon, there was still a ticket or 2 left, so if you want to get involved with that, you should do that now. And happening simultaneously, because this is a happening kind of place, also Woodworking 302, which is pin turning. That will also be happening. That has a prerequisite of Woodworking 102, so you must already have done the wood turning basics, but you'll learn how to make pins on a lathe type device, I believe. And I think there are still tickets there too. On Friday, which is November the 8th at 6:30 p.m., Foundry 101, that's the word I didn't know, Foundry, Introduction to Metal Casting. All skill levels welcomed. So if you would like to make molten metal and pour it into vessels, then that would be an awesome opportunity to do that. Get your tickets. Finally, let me mention that on Saturday, November the 9th at 1 p.m., Learn to Crochet. Again, no prior knowledge needed, and they provide all the materials. So go ahead and get your tickets for that. So we have lots of nifty classes happening in the next week. You should snap up the tickets and participate. If you have not already done so, please apply your eyeballs to the trash cans, and if they seem as if they have too many articles in them, please dispense them into the dumpsters. Otherwise, let's go out into the workshop and make wonderful and weird projects. Thanks for being here, y'all.